Order, shot fire, officer down, shot fire, officer down. Got a city officer down, shot fire.
223, be advised, we have a visual on enemy paratroopers in grid Papa uniforms.
Welcome to the Resilient Warrior Nation, a podcast dedicated to inspiring hope and healing for first responders, military veterans, and anyone facing PTSD and trauma. Hey guys, welcome to another podcast episode of the Resilient Warrior Nation. I'm your host, Mike Morgan. I have a very special guest tonight. I'll tell you guys why in a couple of minutes. If you see him right now, most of my audience probably knows exactly who he is. But first off, I just wanted to speak about the shirt I'm wearing right now. It is not a proclamation. This is Unafraid is a company owned by a man named Eddie Penny. He's a former Navy SEAL Team 6 guy. And Eddie was on the Sean Ryan podcast in the spring of 2023. I watched the episode not knowing it would literally change the trajectory of my entire life. It was Eddie was speaking to Sean. He was recounting the story of the Extortion 17 incident. And as we record today, it's actually the anniversary of the Extortion 17 incident, as tragic as it was. We must remember the gentlemen that lost their lives that night. But it was a helicopter that was shot down, Chinook in Afghanistan. It was shot down by insurgents, killing all 38 souls aboard, including 17 Navy SEALs. It was their largest loss of life in one incident. And Eddie recounted losing his best friend, Jason Workman, in the incident, and then escorting Jason's body back to his hometown. As Eddie was doing so, he was upset, rightly so. I had been simultaneously thinking about a call that I had had 5 years before. I had buried this one deeply. I'm a retired 30-year police officer. Little girl's name is Dana Sikorsky because she is alive and doing well. But I had buried that call, and as it got brought up that night, I began crying like a baby. And I now know that it's because watching this absolute warrior cry gave me subconscious permission to do so as well. And I realized almost with the snap of a finger that the feelings that I had been experiencing for about a year and a half at that point after retirement were some sort of symptoms of PTSD. I vowed at that point that I was going to get help. I knew I needed it, and I wanted to heal. I was not going to carry this with me for the rest of my life. I chose psychedelic therapy as my modality to heal, and I've never experienced anything more profound or cathartic in my entire life. It literally changed my life in the course of 4 hours last March 1st of 2024. As I was coming out of that journey, the universe was telling me that you are now healed. Your life's pursuit is to go forth and help other first responders and vets heal theirs. And I literally said, okay, I accepted that. And was not sure how it was going to be implemented at the time. But one way I chose to do so is to create this podcast, to do exactly for others what Sean Ryan did for me. And in that vein, I bring on ordinary people who've done extraordinary things with their lives. We talk about the highest of highs, lowest of lows, how they've healed. And I just hope that they give hope and inspire you men and women who are going through it right now as you watch this podcast, because we are no different than you. We've been there. And all I want to do is help. So, as I said right before we got on air with the Colonel, I aim to change one person's life, and I guarantee we are going to do that tonight. So with that, let me introduce my guest, Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman. You guys don't understand how pumped I am to have the Colonel here. Lieutenant Grossman was born in Frankfurt, Germany, and is a retired Lieutenant Colonel from the U.S. Army. He's a U.S. Army Ranger, paratrooper, and former West Point psychological professor. He has a black belt in Jiu-Jitsu and has been inducted into the U.S. Martial Arts Hall of Fame. In 1995, he wrote the book On Killing, The Psychological Cost of Learning to Kill in War and Society, which has sold over 500,000 copies and is required reading at both the Marine Corps and the FBI. Since his retirement in 1998, Colonel Grossman has become a New York Times bestselling author and has written a number of other books, including On Combat, Warrior Mindset, Bulletproof Marriage, and On Spiritual Combat. He's one of the leadership trainers for the military, law enforcement, mental health providers, and school safety organizations, including working with those organizations after school shootings. He's been cited by the president. He's had articles published in the Harvard Law Review. He's been an expert in state and federal courts and testified before numerous congressional committees. He's spoken out against video game violence, done research on PTSD, and coined and trademarked the term that we all know well, sheepdog. Colonel, it is an absolute honor and pleasure to have you on my podcast. This is actually blowing my mind.
Oh, thanks, Mike. And I don't know who that guy is you were just talking about. He needs to go get a life, you know. Hey,
Yeah.
Mike, just to dive head in, there's so much to unpack here. Just to dive head in, you are a living example of resiliency. And the thing to understand is this: we're really, really good at treating PTSD. And when we come out the other end, we've got post-traumatic growth. All right, so bad things happen. Let's take World War II, the greatest generation, right? We all know World War II. We all know the greatest generation. And we've all seen Saving Private Ryan. You know, we got an idea what those guys faced. Not for a one-year rotation, year after year. And the vast, vast majority of them came home and they were stronger. That was post-traumatic growth. Those who do have PTSD, we're really good at treating it. Now, you know, recent research has reinforced the value of psychedelics. There's EMDR, eye movement desensitization reprocessing. There's other dynamics, just straight up dynamics of talking about it, separating the memory from the emotions, the breathing exercise, big swig of water. You know, you debrief somebody, they talk about it, they start to become emotional. You know what's happening? What, in a nutshell, what PTSD is, you know, during a traumatic event, you get sympathetic nervous system arousal, right? Sympathetic nervous
Yes.
system, fight or flight, right? Then the parasympathetic background, boom. So, but when that event happened, a set of neurons was established. And a week later, a month later, 10 years later, something triggers it. And suddenly you're on that roller coaster ride again. That sympathetic nervous system kicks in. You're re-experiencing the event. Just re-experiencing the event is not PTSD. It's normal. How you deal with it will decide whether or not it becomes PTSD.
Right.
If you bury it and try to not think about it, you will literally drive yourself crazy trying to not think about it. You got to make peace with the memory. Got to separate the memory from the emotions. And I like to give an example. An Arkansas State Trooper, first gunfight, bad guy's down, he's alive, happy in the story. A week later, he says he's at a swim meet with his wife, watching their daughter at a swim meet. Probably a starter's gun goes off when you don't expect it. Boom. Heart pounding, gasping for air, drenched with sweat. His wife thought he's having a heart attack. He don't know what's happening. All right, now stop there. What if he had said, I can never go to a swim meet again. I can't qualify anymore. I hate 4th of July. I got to avoid loud noises. You will literally drive yourself crazy trying to not think about it. But
Right.
he pushed on through. He went out to the range. He pushed through it. And that was the right thing to do. But he didn't understand what was happening and what the right thing to do is. Now, it's not always that easy to push on through it. That's why we got psychedelics, EMDR, other processes available to us. And sometimes we have complex PTSD where other factors are woven into the equation. But just understand that we're really good at treating it. And we come out the other end stronger, and that becomes our goal. The vast, vast majority of those who kill, the vast, vast majority of those who have been in combat, do not get PTSD. They walk out the door with post-traumatic growth. But those who do have some baggage, when we treat it, and it comes out the door with post-traumatic growth, and that's you. And here you are with this podcast, you know, saying, no, we'll just touch one more life. We'll let somebody know that this is normal, and this is a tool, and this is an approach to you. But I wanted to talk to you about resilient warrior nation, and start with resilient. You know, I was a keynote speaker at the first Department of Defense wide resiliency conference back in the 2000s. I was an opening speaker at the second DoD wide resiliency conference. I tell people resiliency is a term for people who do not get PTSD, or people who've recovered from PTSD and are now stronger from the experience.
Right.
And when we look at people who do not get PTSD, one of the best examples, a man named Viktor Frankl, wrote some important books. He's at a Nazi death camp. He's a human skeleton, enduring unthinkable evil, and he did not have PTSD. And he said, and here's the key. He said, I realized the only thing in the universe those Nazi bastards couldn't control is how I choose to respond.
Mm-hmm.
You see, you can't control the world. You let it all go. The
Right.
past is done. Let go of the past. It'll eat you alive. It's done. The future is uncertain. What all those other idiots are doing out there, you can't control that. The only thing in the world you can control is yourself. And so if we give way to bitterness or cynicism or complacency or denial, that's the one thing you can control.
Yeah.
And you've given the world a fish of your own hand. Now that's easy to say, it ain't so easy to do. But the first step is realizing that I got to let go of everything else, identify the things I can do. Now this is classic Stoicism. It's also completely compatible with Christianity. We've all heard the Serenity Prayer, right? That's what it is, right?
Yeah.
Lord, give me the strength to do the things I can, to let go of the things I can't, and the wisdom to tell the difference, right? So I tell my cops, to paraphrase Viktor Frankl, life is a game. It's all a big game.
Mm-hmm.
You lose your temper, you lose the game. And again, that's easy to say.
Yeah.
But ain't all that easy to do. But the first step is to understand that this is the goal, is self-control. Self-control, the only thing you can control. And so what we're dealing with is, I call it the puppy. Now we got the forebrain, we got the midbrain, the puppy inside. And inside the puppy is the 4Fs. And this is pretty famous. It's a joke in this 1950s textbook that's now become the norm. That function of the 4F is the fight, flight, food, and reproduction. And so every living creature does these four things. Some form of fight or flight response, take in energy, and reproduce. And so what we've got is we've got the need to control these things. We know we have to control fight or flight. I lost my temper. I punched him out. I choked him out. I killed him. Oh, okay, we understand. No problem. No. We all know you got to control your temper from our youngest days. And yet the truth is that we still lose it sometimes, right? So on the other end of sympathetic nervous system, fight or flight, is parasympathetic, which is feed and breed. Also, there's your 4Fs, fight or flight, feed and breed, also known as rest and digest. So one of the first things we learn to do is to not crap ourselves. Now that's hard. If you ever potty trained a kid or house trained a dog, 99% of all the creatures on the earth never learned to control that. What does a wild animal do? They dump when they're ready, right? To learn to not crap yourself, that's hard.
Crackheads too.
Yeah,
Just so you know.
and so what I tell people, we learn to not crap ourselves. In the same way, we got to learn to not lose our temper. There's never an appropriate time to crap yourself, and there's never an appropriate time to lose your temper. Now, again, that's so easy to say. It ain't all that easy to do. I just had my 50th wedding anniversary. My bride of 50.
Congratulations.
Thank you, my high school sweetheart.
Wow.
We were in high school, and we still lose our temper sometimes, a little bit. We don't scream and shout and throw things, but we take a deep breath, and I believe deeply in the power of prayer. Now, you've talked about you reading my book on killing and how it's important in your life. Even more important than on killing is on combat. And so much of what I'm talking about here is on combat, but in many ways, the follow-on on combat is a book called On Spiritual Combat.
Okay.
And on spiritual,
I read On Combat as well.
yeah. And on spiritual combat, we take it all a step further, and to be able to tap into that higher power. There's a reason why faith is one of the pillars of resiliency around the world. And so if you give it that higher power, and as Christians, what we're supposed to do is we're supposed to love. Jesus said, a new commandment I give you, to love one another as I have loved you. And Jesus said, that our mission is to love God and to love people. So there are the commandments right there in just 4 words: love God, love people.
Right.
And so what we got to do is we got to pray for more love. And when I kind of lose my temper and I get pushed, after all these years, I say, Lord, give me more faith, give me more love. And that's all God wants us to do, is ask for more faith and ask for more love, and year by year, bit by bit, build that love up a little higher, a little bit better. But so we don't lose our temper. And on the other end is feed and breed, right? Rest and digest, right? Digest, we don't crap ourselves. We control our eating, and we control our sex. We understand that we got to focus it with the appropriate partner at the appropriate time. there is a parasympathetic backlash. You're in this traumatic event, and then you come home and you have really intense sex. And both partners are very invested in it. A lot of cops talk about this. Victims of crime will talk about it. They come home. I trained all the U.S. Army sexual harassment, assault investigators and counselors. I told them what may look like a pattern of promiscuity. Yeah, she had this, she said she was raped and then she went home and had sex with her boyfriend. Well, what looks like a pattern of promiscuity is a normal biological response. But so many first responders get in trouble every year for having sex on the job.
Oh, yeah.
They're blindsided by this thing. And it's about the appropriate partner at the appropriate time. And so when the desire to choke somebody else comes, you can't do that. When that, those sexual drives come, you can't do that. Appropriate partner at the appropriate time at the appropriate place, So it's all about taking the things that aren't normally under control. Now, animals don't control when they have sex, and they don't control when and where they crap,
Right.
and they eat when food's available. That's why my lab would be a big bowl of lard if I let And animals, they're not good at controlling their tempers, but we got to do that. That's what makes us human, is that transcend all that stuff.
Right.
And so to seek that dynamic of self-control, back to Viktor Frankl, identify the fact the only thing universal is Nazi bastard. This really was the path to walk out of a Nazi death camp and upstairs be just fine. You realize the only thing they couldn't control is how I choose to respond. And part of that is choosing to get help. And that's what you did. And now you're there for other people. And you're coming out the end with post-traumatic growth. And so we talk about resilient warrior nation. And resilient means people who can face traumatic events and not get PTSD.
Right.
And military and law enforcement, we expect bad things to happen. We're not blindsided by it. We're ready for it. But we've got to be ready for it. We can't live our lives in denial. I'm a reserve cop. I walk out the door, and I've got a gun. And really, denial is what turns us into sheep. And denial destroys us twice. Denial kills us once physically. You don't have the tools. You're a cop who walked out the door into the mean old world with unhappy customers all around without the life-saving tools of your profession. You don't have the tools, you don't have the skills, and you die. But even if you survive, you live the rest of your life in hell when the simple things you could and should have done. Preparation saves us twice. It saves us once physically. You have the tools, you have the skills, and you're triumphant. But even if you fail, you can live with yourself because you did everything you could reasonably do. And so, I talk about being the sheepdog, and that's the warrior, resilient warrior nation, is being the sheepdog. Now, I wrote the book, and it's a really important book. You read On Killing, On Combat.
Yes.
One of my more recent books is on hunting. And you cannot understand combat, you cannot understand killing until you understand the role that hunting plays in who we are and what we do. You see, if as a species, we only existed for 24 hours, up until the last 6 minutes, all we did was hunt. About 6 minutes ago, we began agriculture, right? If there's
Right.
all we did for all but 6 minutes of those 24 hours of our existence was be hunter-gatherers. It's who we are, it's what we do. But here's the key.
Right.
We've always been in the middle of the food chain. There's things that hunt us, and there's things that we hunt.
Right.
And we talk in the book, the British government in India says between 1900 and 1910, in that decade, 1900 and 1910, in India, over 100,000 people were killed by tigers. Tigers that they know, those are the ones they know of.
100,000.
Killed 100,000 people. And those are the ones they know of. So we've been in the middle of the food chain, but here's the key. It's no fun to be hunted. We don't want to be hunted. We
No.
want to be the hunter. We don't
Exactly.
like to be hunted. We're good. We've got the forward set eyes of a predator. We got the gripping fangs of a predator. We also have the grinding molars of a grass eater. It says, I don't have to outrun the predator. I just have to outrun the slowest guy in the herd.
Yeah,
And we
exactly.
got we got the chisel teeth of a rabbit that says, you crap yourself, run like hell rodent. So we've got the neurons to survive as the hunter or the hunted. But we're never happy when we're hunted. So we choose to be the hunter. And that's the sheepdog. I got dogs, they never killed anything but a tennis ball. But but they're hunters. They're
Yep.
predators. That's who they are. That's why dogs and cats, we love them. We surround ourselves with predators because that's who we identify with. They're hunters, and that's who we want to be. So much of the world has chosen to be hunted, and that's the sheep.
Yeah.
And those who choose to be the hunter, they are the sheepdog, the predator under authority, the house trained predator, right? The predator that controls their aggression and they control when and where they crap.
Oh yeah.
And so we're the sheepdog, and we protect the flock and we protect the sheep. So much of our society rejects that word warrior, and they reject the idea of being the sheepdog. And they're the sheep. They've made a conscious decision. It's not about hunting. You don't have to hunt. You don't even have to get a concealed carry permit. You just carry pepper spray, or make the conscious decision to look in the car and make sure there's nobody in the back seat before you open it up. You understand?
Yeah.
You make the conscious decision to lock the door of your house at night. You control the things you can control. That brings us back to identify the things you can control. What are the things you can do? You can carry a weapon. You can carry pepper spray. You can lock your doors. You can control where you go, when you go, and what you do. You can seek training. I talked about I went to hop in the car a little while back and I didn't have my gun. I stopped. I said, I went and got it.
Yeah.
If you're
Yeah.
legally authorized to carry the life-saving tools of your profession, I would rather walk out that door naked and alone, beat me, whip me, strip me, kick me out the door naked before I'd be with my loved ones, my grandchildren, without the tools to protect them. So make this decision. Am I the warrior? Am I the sheepdog? Am I the hunter? Am I the hunted? Do I control my destiny? Do I control my fate? Do I do the things I can do? Or do I live in denial? Is my only defense to walk out the door and say, oh, there's no bad man out there today? And denial kills you twice.
Yeah.
Preparation saves you twice. So there are no ultimate warriors. There are no ultimate sheepdogs. And there are no ultimate sheep. They're just people up and down the scale. And we're calling people a little bit further up that scale. Carry pepper spray. Go to a self-defense class. Keep the doors locked. Think about the things you can do to make yourself a harder target, and at the moment or two to control your fate. And that's where it comes to weapons. Pepper spray. I've got.
Nice. I like that.
All of those are gifts, and I've got a thing about the giving of a weapon, and it implies your trust in the recipient and your desire for their safety. But most of all, the desire to make the world a better, safer place by putting this tool in the hands of a warrior. But in the end, remember, you are a weapon. Everything else is a tool. You are the weapon. Everything else is a tool. So when we talk about resilient warrior nation, and that's our nation. What do we have carved into the DNA of our nation the right to carry self-defense, the right to carry a gun, and to seek that training. 43 states shall issue concealed carry, and now the Supreme Court has declared the remaining 7 states must also be shall issue. What's that mean?
Nice.
That means you've got to give them a concealed carry permit unless you can prove a good reason why they shouldn't have one.
Right.
Unless they're a convicted felon, you've got to give them that permit. And they have that constitutional right to protect themselves. We are a warrior nation. We have carved into the DNA of our nation the right to protect ourselves. And even if you choose not to use that right, support it, and support those who do, and stand behind those individuals, and believe in who they are, and believe in what they do. And the whole sheep, the wolf, and the sheepdog is just a metaphor. It's not perfect, but
Right.
come further up that scale from being the sheep to the sheepdog, and what you've done is you've embraced resiliency. You've embraced, I am in control of my destiny. I have done the things that I can do to protect myself and my loved ones. And whatever happens, my conscience is clear. And then come further up that scale throughout your life, and that's where that's where that resilient warrior nation comes in. I love that. And I just wanted to begin by uplifting you and having you own that and embrace what those three words really mean. And all your listeners out there to embrace this role, being resilient warrior nation. And what does your shirt say? What does your shirt say? To be unafraid. Don't you know what? I have a reasonable amount of fear. I have
We all do.
yeah, but I don't let my fear control me.
Exactly.
I don't go to this part of town at night. I don't go, here. I don't go without a gun. That's not fear. It's because I do these things. I don't have to fear. It's reasonable, and because we're a resilient warrior nation, we don't have to live our lives in fear. You know what? One of the most traumatic things that could happen is somebody to break into your house and to beat you and your family. That's why, when we talk about this now, the DSM, the Bible of Psychiatry and Psychology, talking about PTSD, says when the cause of your trauma is human in nature, the degree of trauma is usually more severe and long-lasting. So you tell me, is there a difference between these two scenarios? Scenario one, tornado hits your house while you're gone, put your family in the hospital. How do you feel about that one? Well, thank God they're alive. Scenario two, criminals break into the house while you're gone and beat your family to the hospital stay. Now you feel any different? There's
Totally.
all the difference in the world.
Two ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, and so we prepare for that possibility, and then when it comes, we've done all we can do, and we're at peace. And so when we talk about trauma, the most traumatic thing that can happen is another human being attacking you, or worse yet, attacking your loved ones. But you prepared for that possibility. You mentioned I have a black belt in Jiu-Jitsu on the USA Martial Arts Hall of Fame, mostly for my books, and they're used throughout the martial arts. But Jiu-Jitsu is the martial art of the gun. And we are the people of the gun. If you want to learn, swordcraft, you're Japanese, or European, you want to learn to fight with your body, you might, Korea or Japan or China, but if you want to fight with a pistol, that's us. We're the people of the gun. This is our martial art. So Jiu-Jitsu is the martial art of the gun, and the idea is of taking the right that we have, carry pepper spray, carry a gun, and be good with it. Just carrying a guitar does not make you a musician.
Exactly.
Just carrying a gun. Now, don't be a gun snob that says, you got to fire 50,000 rounds a year before we allow you to carry a gun,
Yeah.
I've got in my gun safe, I've got my great-grandmother's .32 caliber revolver. And in 1932, that's why I can remember this. In 1932 in New Orleans, she was sleeping in, and what they didn't have air conditioning, right? In the summer, all the windows were open. On the second floor, all the windows were open. And somebody crawled in the second floor window. And Granny took that .32 caliber revolver and just pointed it. It's the ultimate point and click interface.
Yeah.
She pointed it and pulled the trigger 6 times, and they followed the blood trail out to the alley the next morning. But Granny probably never fired more than 20 rounds in her life, if that.
Yep.
But it was there for her. And Granny was a sheepdog. Great grandmother. My
Yeah,
great grandmother,
that's
1932.
awesome.
So be the sheepdog. Be the resilient warrior nation that we were meant to be, and recognize that the most traumatic thing that can happen, we're all going to die,
Hmm.
and disease or accidents, but to have a human being steal your life away, that's the most traumatic thing that can happen. And so prepare for that. And if it does happen, well, hey, I did everything I could reasonably do, and my conscience is clear. But if you live your life in denial and these bad things happen, you're going to live the rest of your life in hell. Now, we
Yeah.
can deal with this. You're not broken. You're not doomed. We can treat you and we can make you stronger. We make you better. But you're still going to be vulnerable unless you choose to be unafraid. And because I carry a gun, I'm unafraid. Because I keep my doors locked. Because, we've got all these tools, I'm unafraid. And so that's kind of part of this resilient warrior nation, and that's about being unafraid. So that's kind of this nutshell dynamic of tying it all together. Does that all make sense from what you've been hearing and what you personally have seen?
Oh, 100%. The whole philosophy. And it's funny you mentioned denial because I worked with cops over the years that were in denial.
Yeah,
Denial that bad things are not going to happen to them. So they didn't train. Denial that they weren't, possibly going to face a life or death situation the second they put on that uniform. I mean, we've seen stories where on the first day of field training, officers have gotten into shootings. I used to tell my rookies, I'd ask them, do you know how to fight? No. Okay, it's not embarrassing that you don't know how to fight. But from this point on, it is if you don't take steps to learn. You have your life in your hand. You potentially have my life in your hand. You have a family to go home to. You owe it to them. If you haven't, which it still blows my mind to this day that, a lot of people don't do further training. But if you haven't up to this point trained, you need to do so starting tomorrow
yeah,
because it's not a matter of if, it's when these situations are going to occur.
yeah.
And I was an FTO, so I got into defensive handcuffing. For instance, I've always been into tactics, and I would show my we call them PPOs, recruits, essentially how to different ways to handcuff and different scenarios that I was involved in, and I would tell them first thing. I would show them how to search correctly. Make this your procedure from here on in, and it's uniform for everyone that you search. In your mind, because as humans, we have this thing that we deny that people are going to have a weapon on them. Tell yourself that every person that you are searching has something on them. It's your job to find it.
Ah,
And, I always took that mindset for my 30 years. I literally, I was a tactics guy. After anything that happened, I always did like an after action report of myself. What'd you do wrong? What'd you do right? How could you correct this? But, with the handcuffing and case in point, a buddy of mine who's actually now assistant chief in Atlanta arrested a guy. We used to have cage cars, so we used to self transport a lot of times. And he goes to the Atlanta City Jail. Sally Port door is opening. He's pulling in 2-3 miles an hour. He looks in the rearview mirror. Guy's coming up with a gun. He dives out of the car. Boom, one shot, guy killed himself. So he jumped his cuffs, got the gun, and what had happened was he missed the gun that was duct taped to the top of this guy's chest. So, I tell guys and girls, number one, get used to grabbing nuts. you know, you're going to have to do it. When you go on that right side, you're going to grab one side. When you go on that left side, grab another. Tell yourself he's got something in his underwear. And I recovered numerous guns
yeah,
that were secreted in men's underwears,
yeah.
underwear.
Oh yeah.
This guy missed a gun. It was a small caliber gun, very small gun, literally almost at the top of his neck, duct taped to his chest. Like some of these guys are serious criminals,
Yeah.
and they will do anything they can to escape. So denial, especially in these industries, soldier, police officer. I don't understand how guys and girls can go into these things with denial. I mean, the only way they can really is because for lack of preparation, they begin denying that these things can happen to them. But as you said, it is such an important um, item to never do because
Yeah.
it can kill you.
And let me give you an angle on this now. I like to tell the story. A man who's become a good friend of mine, an amazing guy. It was May of 2015. Draw the Prophet Muhammad Art Festival outside of Dallas, Texas.
Okay.
In the eyes of Islam, to draw the prophet's a terrible crime.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you deserve to be killed if you just drew a
Yeah.
picture of the prophet.
Yep.
These two art critics from Arizona came. The FBI says they were the first ISIS-directed attack on American soil. And
Really.
these two guys came up and they said, "We want to die for our faith. What should we do?" I just said, the suburb of Dallas, draw the Prophet Art Festival, kill them all. So there were two of them. They had rifles. They had body armor. Could have been the Pulse nightclub times two. They rolled out of the vehicle, and a 59-year-old traffic cop with a pistol killed them both. One of the greatest feats of marksmanship and courage in American history. Now, Officer Greg Stevens, 59 years old, traffic cop. That's all he ever did. That's all he wanted to do.
Yep.
He had a motorcycle in the summer and a nice warm car in the winter. Every traffic stop, he said, every traffic stop was an opportunity to make a friend. But I had a plan. Every traffic stop.
Kill all of those friends.
Well, what if the backup lights came on? What if the guy pulled out a gun? What if he did this? What if he did that? One of you guys always thinking. He was always training. And he went to the range every time the range was open and ammo available. Greg Stevens said he'd been a cop for 37 years, never fired his weapon in a life and death event. He said, for 37 years, I trained. He said, for 37 years, I made a steady deposit in a savings account. In May of 2015, I'd made a major withdrawal.
Mm-hmm.
Two guys roll out of the vehicle, body armor, rifles, out of nowhere. Over 30 rounds of rifle fire fired at Greg Stevens, won't hit once. From 40 feet away with a pistol hitting virtually every shot fired. Game over. But here's the point. The sheep will say, what good are you, your little pistol going to do? Oh, there'll be two of them. They have body armor. They have rifles. Come out of nowhere. And then what are you, your little pistol going to do? And I tell people, notice how the sheep come up with weird, convoluted scenarios. They invent these scenarios to prove that nothing they can do.
Yep.
But the sheepdog does just the opposite. They study cases like this. Two of them, body armor, rifles. Maybe on a good day, I can do what Officer Greg Stevens did. Or we got Jennifer Fulford, who went into a garage. Two kids are in a van, and they called 911. Cops responded. They're not sure what's going on. They said, bad guy's got my mommy. And we're in the van in the garage. So Jennifer says, I'll go in the garage and get the kids. She told me at the time, she said that if RoboCop shoves his head in the van and says, come with me, kids, you peel him off the ceiling. She said, if one of our female warriors said, come with me, kids, they probably will. She said, and it's just something we can bring to the table the guys can't.
Right.
So Jennifer Fulford went in the garage one direction. Three armed home invaders came in the garage the other direction. And the gunfight followed. Jennifer shot 10 times. 3 bullets stopped by body armor equipment. 7 bullets punched through her body. Shot 7 bullets ripped through her body.
Damn.
Shot 10 times. Early in the gunfight, her right arm is disabled by bullets. She drops her gun with the right hand, picks up her left hand, kills SOB the shotter. While the other sinking slugs in her, she does a left-handed, one-handed reload under fire, kills the second one. Third one wisely runs like hell, later surrenders. So here's Jennifer, shot to bits and still fighting. If she can do it, I can too. So study these cases and study these opportunities and say, if they can do it, I can too. And you're going to get shot to bits. Well, I might get shot to bits, but you know what? I'm going to keep shooting. I'm going to shoot accurately. And you know what? I'm going to survive because medical technology is probably going to save my life if I just can stop this guy from putting some more bullets in my body. And so we envision that scenario. If there's nobody there to take care of them and you don't have any option, then you shoot accurately. If there's friends available, get the hell out of there and let your friends take care of them. Don't make your friends expose themselves to drag your bony body out of the way. Stacy Lim, LAPD cop, just met her a couple of months ago at an event with an amazing lady. She's come home from a softball game. And she pulled into her driveway, but she had her gun. And she rolls out of a vehicle, and a group of gangbangers pulling behind her in the driveway. They're going to carjack her. And she takes a .357 mag round through the heart. Her heart.
What?
And she's still, and And what Stacy did was she in the academy they trained her. Don't let them use your gun against you. And she's going in the house to call 911. Her roommate called 911. She's going in the house. She strips the magazine out of her weapon. It took over 100 pints of blood to get her through the first night. Stacy full recovered, Sergeant LAPD, training, a legendary law enforcement trainer, bullet through the heart, and you've still got about 8 to 20 seconds. A bullet through the heart, the heart's done. You still have 8 to 20 seconds to get out of the line of fire and let your friends go take care of this guy. You've got a few seconds of grace in there to decide, I'm going to stop this guy or I'm going to get the hell out of there and let my friends take care of him. But you've thought this through. I've taken a bullet. My heart is stopped. I've still got 8 seconds. What am I going to do with them?
Yeah.
Am I Stacy Lim? I have no choice. I'm immobilized. I'm going to kill these guys. Or am I Jennifer Fulford? I'm immobilized. I'm shot. I got no choice. I got to take these guys. Am I Stacy Lim? I've got the opportunity to get the hell out of there, and go call for help. But we thought it through. What are my options? I've taken a bullet. The rest of the world, I'm shot. I'm dead. I'm done. No, you're not. We don't give you permission to die. We don't train you to die. and keep going. And so these are all part of it. But let's cover another aspect of resiliency.
Sure.
We mentioned it briefly. You and I come from a faith perspective, and I talk about my book on spiritual combat. And there's a reason why faith is one of the pillars of resiliency around the world. But here's the critical question. As a sheepdog, as a warrior, terrible things happen all the time. And many times, it's your job to go to them. Mm-hmm. If you're a first responder, if you're military, if you're law enforcement, it's your job to go toward the bad things. And you're going to see bad things every day. And you can't help but ask the question. And anybody who sees something bad, how could a loving God allow these terrible things to happen? And that's maybe the most important question in the universe to answer. And the answer is really important. And the answer is, your loving God would not make you his puppet. Have you ever heard, if you truly love something, let it go? If it comes back, it's really yours. That's how much God loves us. He loves us enough to let us make our own decisions. Now, he does answer prayer, he does intercede, but he lets people make their own decisions. That means a lot of people make really bad decisions.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of really bad things happen. You say, God, why don't you do something? He said, I did. I sent you. He sent you for that. He sent you to be there. But here's the key now. If you're a person of faith, if you have an idea there might be a life after this life, eternity after this life, now understand this. In the end, everyone is going to die physically. In the end, every nation will fall over my dead body. In the end, our sun will die and life on this earth will go out, but eternity continues. So a few more years on this earth is nothing. A little less suffering on this earth is nothing compared to eternity in heaven. And if you're a person of faith, you zoom out and take the big picture. Don't let the things of this world pull you down. Don't let the things of this world pull you down. For that little girl to have had another 60 years on this earth is nothing compared to eternity in heaven.
Right.
A little less suffering in this earth is nothing compared to eternity in heaven. And that's God's view. That's God's big picture view, is to let us make our own decision, to not use people as puppets. The evil one will make you his puppet at the blink of an eye. Mm-hmm. If you give yourself to the evil one, he'll make you his meat puppet right now. Only someone who loves you will truly let you make your own decisions. And that means a lot of people are going to make bad decisions. A lot of bad things are going to happen. But take that perspective. From a Christian perspective, this is not our home. We're soldiers deployed to a war zone. And our job is to love. And you know what makes a great cop is empathy. Yeah. Empathy is love with the shoes on. Empathy says, what if it was my spouse that had been murdered? What if my child had been assaulted? What if my family trapped in that burning building? Empathy is love with shoes on. Empathy is love in action. And what makes a great cop is empathy and compassion. And the root of compassion is passion. We have this passion for other people. Don't let it destroy you. Let it motivate you.
Hmm.
Let yourself be God's instrument to make the world a better place. How many lives have you touched in your law enforcement career? And now, how many lives are you touching with this podcast? You're letting God use you as his instrument to
Yeah.
do good things and to make good things happen. So that's that really resilient warrior nation. And you zoom out and take that big picture of eternity. If you're a person of faith, don't let the things of this world pull you down, or you let the evil one win. This is not our home. We're soldiers deployed to a war zone, and our job is to love people. If we truly love them, we'll protect them. In 1 Corinthians chapter 13, the Bible says, love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never fails. Then it says, love always protects. And if we don't protect them, then we don't love them.
Hmm.
If we don't protect our loved ones, then we don't truly love them.
Right.
And love always protects. And that's what you did in your law enforcement career. You protected people every day. And Jesus said this, it's so important. He said, greater love has no one than this, that they lay down their life for their friends. So what manner of love is this? That men and women will die for strangers. What manner of love is this? That first responders will walk out that door and put their life on the line for people they never even met. But hear that verse one more time. It's important. Greater love is no one than this, that they lay down their life for their friends. But there are many ways to lay down your life. There are many ways to lay down your life. And sometimes the greatest love is not to sacrifice your life, but to live a life of sacrifice.
Right.
And that's what you've done, brother. You have lived a life of sacrifice. You're never going to be stinking, filthy American dream rich as a cop, at least not legally. You're never going to be a famous
No,
celebrity, at
no
least
danger
not
of that.
in a good way.
Yeah.
But you chose a life of sacrifice. And you must believe your sacrifice for a noble and worthy purpose. Because our mission was to love. And love always protects. And you've spent a lifetime protecting. And now you've rolled into this podcast and continuing to call people to that higher standard to protect and to be resilient warriors in a nation that empowers the individual citizen to have the tools and the skills to protect others.
Well said.
But,
It's funny too because as I was telling you that story about first getting out of college and kind of really thinking about what I want to do in my life, and law enforcement started coming into the foreground. I don't know what it was, but I just never thought about it growing up, to be honest with you. Actually, my father was a FDNY member for 36 years, and he dissuaded myself and my sister from ever taking civil service tests. He's like, neither of you will ever do that. But when I started thinking about what I wanted to do in my life, it just felt like a calling, like I was put on this earth to do that. Like I just felt like I had the tools to protect people. I can't stand bullies. I want to protect people from evil. Just do my part. It's not like you think you stopping crime or anything like that, but in the same realm now, it's like I feel even more passionately that I am where I'm supposed to be in this space. And I never had any forethought about this prior to that ayahuasca ceremony, to be honest with you.
uh,
I had two coworkers and friends that had committed suicide 3 weeks before that, a week apart. The sergeant actually killed himself in a precinct locker room. So, still, I had no thoughts about kind of entering that space. And like I told you, the universe clearly told me like that was my life's purpose. And I truly, truly believe with everything in my soul, that is why I was put through everything in my life to like be put here at this moment in time to be speaking to you, doing everything I do. And there's no coincidences. I believe everything happens for a reason. I believe I'm getting introduced to the people of the caliber that I'm meeting for a reason. And it's amazing because the people like you that I'm meeting have such deep purpose in their life, and everyone's got this noble cause of wanting to help others.
yeah.
Coming from a 30-year cop who was lied to by basically everyone you speak to on a daily basis, to now speaking to gentlemen like you who have, again, that noble purpose and who have no agenda, who just want to help. And, basically saying, like Adam, I met Adam, and Adam's like, let me introduce you to the Colonel. Like, what? Like, right off the bat, I'll help you any way I can. Like, it's such a beautiful thing, And again, it's like, it feels like it's out of love, as you said.
Amen. Hey, well, let me two angles. Take it to the next step now.
Sure.
You talk about suicide. I lost a little brother to suicide. I lost two nephews to suicide.
My condolences.
I think, and it's one of the most probably having a loved one murdered is hard, but having them murder themselves is harder.
Right.
Because you will spend the rest of your life saying, "What could I have done differently?
Yeah.
What did I do? How could I have been better?" You did nothing. Will just eat you alive like that.
Yep.
And suicide rates have exploded around the globe. And it enrages me. As a West Point psychology professor, I studied suicide. It wasn't until recently that in the last decade or so, I found all the research linking sleep deprivation and suicide.
Really?
It's huge. It's huge. And you see, right now, it is physically impossible for you to take your life. The drive to self-preservation is too powerful. But if you add alcohol, alcohol inhibits the drive to self-preservation.
Sure.
Alcohol is so often a factor in suicide. You got all these other problems, you add alcohol. Alcohol inhibits the drive to self-preservation, and suddenly it becomes possible to overcome that drive to self-preservation. Well, sleep deprivation works exactly the same way. Sleep deprivation does exactly the same thing, but it's impacting children. Children are not habitually drunk, and you're only drunk for a short window. You sleep deprived, it just gets worse and worse and worse. You understand?
Right.
So we're in the middle of a global epidemic of sleep deprivation. And as resilient warriors, one of the most important battles we have to fight is the battle to get enough sleep and to get quality sleep.
Yeah.
I tell people how important it is as adults. As adults, we need at least 7 hours of sleep a night.
Yeah.
And I really keep track of that. And we can wear a fitness tracker and track our sleep. It is so, you may not get one more minute of sleep, but sleep in the dark. We're designed to sleep in total darkness. Combine it with the sleep mask.
I have mine.
This
Yep.
sleep mask is Amazon's #1 bestseller. And it's got, last I heard, over 95,000. I've got a book that sold 500,000 copies, Marine Corps Commandant's required reading list, and it's got less than 10,000 reviews. There's 95,000 reviews for this mask. And the one right behind it is my wife's favorite. It's got like 70,000 5-star reviews for a stinking sleep mask.
Yep.
It will rock your world.
Yeah.
And then
I have one.
So I tell people three things. You got to aim for enough sleep. For adults, that means 7 hours. For children, it's more than that.
Yeah.
It's got to be quality sleep. Sleep in the dark. And then number 3, we got to shut down caffeine shortly after lunch. Caffeine's making us have bad quality sleep. And by the way, that bad sleep is a key factor in Alzheimer's and dementia.
Yeah.
It's a key factor in traffic deaths. It's a key factor in, look at the opiate epidemic. Why opiates? Well, sleep deprivation creates chronic pain. We've got a society of sleep-deprived, pain-filled people. And Doc, I heard all the time, give me a pill to fix you. Don't need a pill, you need more sleep. And you got to knock off the caffeine shortly after lunch.
Yeah.
So as resilient warriors, this is our weapon. Our body is our weapon. And
Sure.
proper nutrition and proper sleep, you will die from lack of sleep faster than you will die from lack of food. You need 4 things to exist. You need air, you need water, you need sleep, and you need food in that order. You need sleep more than you need food.
Right.
And it will kill you. It will eat you alive. It will make you stupid. And it will make you do, the link between sleep deprivation and mental illness is overwhelming. What can we do about the mental illness? Sleep. All these sleep deprived people out there, train the kids. I teach school safety. I tell them, look, odds are good. We're going to talk about keeping your school safe from violence, but odds are good you haven't had a kid murdered. Unfortunately, you probably had a suicide, probably had traffic deaths, number one killer of teenagers. You probably had drug overdoses. I bet you got a problem with mental illness. What can do? You want to walk out that door and save a kid's life? When my second grade teacher told us cigarettes kill people, I went home and hid my dad's cigarettes. When our second grade teacher tells you you need this amount of sleep at your age, you need to sleep in the dark and you need to cut off caffeine, they'll do it. And you got to
Hmm.
walk out that door and save a kid's life, teach them that. So as resilient warriors, that's such a critical component in the equation. And,
Yeah, it is. And I have sleep apnea. So to those men and women who are watching this who won't get tested, because I recently spoke to a friend that thinks he has it, but he doesn't want to go through the trouble of getting tested. Like, brother, like you know how essential this is to live a good life. And just like you cited here, Alzheimer's, dementia, that alone, how does that not spur you to want to go get? I can't even. We actually just went to an ayahuasca retreat a couple weeks ago to volunteer, and I forgot my plug. So for 2 nights, I was machineless. It was horrendous, 2 horrendous nights of sleep, snoring. But I could not imagine not having that machine every night. And it is
uh,
it's imperative for you guys and girls who think you have it to get
I
tested.
had I had a Navy SEAL Master Chief. This guy, a SEAL team member for a decade, Navy SEAL Master Chief, the highest peak of rank and achievement. He said, I had 9 years of bad sleep.
Wow.
He said, everybody on the team complained about my snoring. He
Yeah.
said, finally, he said, I was ordered to go to the sleep lab. I go to the sleep lab and I go to sleep, and just a few hours later, they wake me up. They said, Master Chief, you have sleep apnea. You have it bad. He said,
Me too.
wear this CPAP and go back to sleep. He said, I woke up that next morning after a good night's sleep for the first time in 9 years. He said, I cannot communicate to you. He said, no meal I've ever eaten, no sex I've ever had, nothing in my life has been as good as that first night of good sleep after 9 years of bad sleep. And I tell people, you probably, oh, if you think it's better than sex, you're not doing it right. Well, you go tell
Yeah.
him that. You tell him
Exactly.
that.
Yeah. I'm
But
sure he's tried
yeah,
for 9 years.
ah, it's,
No, it's
it's
the truth.
yeah, it's a biological need. It's like you're going without food or you're going without air, and suddenly you've got air, you've got food, and suddenly life is wonderful. If you're going without quality sleep, it's like all you've been eating is dirt, and suddenly
Yeah.
somebody gives you this beautiful meal. That's what it's like to get that good sleep, that CPAP machine. For those who've been there, it's so important to do that. Yeah, we can save
Life
some lives
changing.
with that one, brother, right there.
Yeah, it's life changing. Actually, I need to hook you up with a guy named Ron Sweetman. He's a former SEAL himself. I don't know if you ever heard of him, but his teammate Ryan Larkin went 5 straight days without sleep, ended up committing suicide. And Rob vowed at that point to enter sleep study and went to school, got his, I think, master's degree. And now he's Sleep Genie is his moniker, and created a whole program. Like his life is dedicated to it. So you
Uh,
guys would be great to speak to each
oh,
other.
let's
I'll
talk
have
about
to
that,
get
man.
you. Yeah.
You got a podcast?
He does
He's
Rob, I
good.
think he may. He just did a TEDx talk. He
Yeah,
may have a podcast, but
yeah.
I don't think he's got his own.
Yeah.
But
Well,
super, super intelligent guy.
that's
You
what
guys
we
would hit it
need
off.
right now. Oh, it's so vital. So many
Oh
things are
yeah.
going on. I had a, I tell every audience, this is parenting 101 for the 21st century. Suicides have exploded.
Yeah.
Teenage girls, 10, 11, 12-year-old girls, suicide rate has tripled in the last
Really?
decade. Tripled.
Wow.
And it's worldwide. And so here's parenting 101 for the 21st century. When you send your kid to bed at night, take their cell phone away
Yeah.
from them. No laptop, no cell phone, no TV in the room. They've got to go to the room and sleep. So a cop came up to me during a break in a presentation. He said, I had one of those teenagers. He said she was a good girl. She was an A student. She said, Dad, it's embarrassing. You don't have to take my phone every night. Family policy, good policy. Phone goes in the charger, go to bed. You don't have to take my phone every night. You can trust me. It's embarrassing. He said, okay, I trust you. Keep your phone. He said, a little while later, she took her life. He said, my little girl took her life. And we never knew the hell she was living in until we looked at the text messages on her cell phone. Night after night of ceaseless, relentless, vicious bullying.
Boy.
And you can't just ignore that. We're not
No.
wired that way. He said
Nope.
it was heartrending. They're up all night long. He said they were tag teaming her. They were taking shifts. He said it was heartrending. He said, I immediately understood my little girl was bullied to death. What I didn't understand until now, she was sleep deprived, tormented, and bullied to death in front of my eyes, and I let it happen. So when we look back at suicides, one of my nephews, a nephew committed suicide. The new video game came out. He locked himself in his room with a big pile of snacks and sodas and the new video game. On the third day, he killed himself. It was just nothing.
Jeez.
It was just that. But when we start, was he sleep deprived? Boom. All of a sudden, when you start looking for the sleep deprivation, the safety catch is taken off. And you've got people that do stupid things. And like
Yeah.
I said, the link to Alzheimer's, people, oh, I'll sleep when I'm dead. You have a decade of Alzheimer's first, you idiot.
Exactly.
Hey, let's just, in the time we got available, just kind of tie it up. One last thing. I want to talk about service dogs. And here's the thing now.
This is crazy you're bringing this up. I volunteer at a place called Big Dog Ranch here in Loxahatchee. It's the biggest cage-free, non-kill facility in the U.S. And I just got accepted to volunteer in a PTSD dog program. They train dogs to go with vets. And I'm kind of have an eye towards becoming a trainer of said dogs for that purpose. So it's crazy you're speaking about
Let's talk
this.
about
Holy
this. This
cow.
is so
Again, no coincidences.
Oh, amen, amen. All right, here's the thing.
Crazy.
Let's just talk about having a dog. Dogs are pack animals. They're not meant to be alone. If you got one dog and you leave them at home, it's solitary confinement. Now look at prison. One person by themselves is torture. But two people in the cell, they're fine.
Yeah.
And so you got two dogs, you leave it at home, they're fine. You got
Always
one
have two
dog.
dogs.
Yeah, you got one dog, you leave it at home. It's evil. You're being cruel to them. You're doing what they are not intended to be alone. But we're the same way. We're not meant to be alone.
Right.
But when you got that service dog, you're never alone. They go to the bathroom with you. They go to the restaurant with you. They go to the store with you. You're never alone.
Yeah, everywhere. Yep.
And we're not meant to. So the very first thing that dog does for you is you're never alone. But I want to talk about a different angle. Not being it's hard to certify a PTSD dog. It's hard to. You need psychological dynamics. You need training. I want to introduce you to Charlie. Now this is Charlie,
Not a cutie.
and Charlie.
What's up, buddy?
Yeah, see, Charlie's it's got this white stripe going down the bottom.
Yep.
You put him upside down, he's a skunk. Yeah, but Charlie is what's called a hearing dog. My ears are shot out. A lot of veterans are,
Yeah.
and a lot of us, as we get older, we have hearing problems, and
have.
you can't sleep with your hearing aids in. So the most vulnerable time of the day is when the alarm goes off in the morning. And Charlie lets me know when the alarm goes off in the morning. Now,
Really?
the doc says I'm 60. I'll be 69 in 2 weeks, and I'm going to keep doing this for another 20 years. I'm on the road, 100 presentations, 70, 80 presentations a year. I'm going to keep doing it. But Charlie is going to be one of my keys to make it possible for me to keep doing it.
Okay.
And most of the time, I hear the alarm. But sometimes, a lot of us, we take a little medical assistance with our sleep, and we don't have our hearing aids in. And so just one day in the last month, and Charlie's in my face. Now, I trained Charlie. Most service dogs are Rolex. They cost, $30,000. There's nothing wrong with selling a Rolex. There's nothing wrong with buying a Rolex. But Charlie's a Timex. Charlie's a Timex. And Charlie, we bought him, for $1,000. A nice breeder with a good dog with a good temperament, but what I did was, I laid down and the alarm goes off, and I get up and give him a treat. Right? I lay down, and 5 minutes later the alarm goes off. I get up and give him a treat. The third time the alarm goes off, he's in my face. Where's my treat? Where's my treat?
Yep.
That fast. He's
Amazing.
ready. And Charlie, when the alarm goes off, every morning the alarm goes off and I get up and he gets a treat. And he's in my face. He does not believe in the snooze button. The snooze button is an instrument of the devil. It's contrary to his religion. He says, come on, buddy, another 5 minutes. No, no, no. He's in my face. He's merciless.
That's
And
great.
he's learning. I'm training him different things. He's 2 years old now. He's got a lot of time left in front of him. And when a siren goes off, and he's in the car with me a lot, I hear a siren, and I give him a treat. And pretty soon he hears the siren a long time before I hear it.
Yep.
And pretty soon he hears that siren. He's going to be in my face. Where's my treat? Well, where's the siren? And he's kind of, yeah, I already know. I carry him in kind of a sling. He sits in a little sling. He just chills out. He hangs with me everywhere. And
Yeah.
I carry him in this little sling. And a lot of times I know somebody's talking to me because he looks at him, and then I know to look at him. But it didn't cost nothing. And the truth is, a lot of people need a Charlie.
Right.
And he doesn't have to be a big dog, but you're never alone. When I sleep at night, he curls up in the small of my back. I'm a side sleeper, and he curls up in the small of my back, and you're never alone. And we're not meant to be alone. And if you got any trouble getting up in the morning, you need a Charlie. And you can, and all you got to do, they're legally authorized to ask two questions. Is this dog trained to provide a service to you? Yes. What is the service they provide? Well, Charlie's called a hearing dog. And he lets me know the alarm goes off in the morning. It lets me know when somebody's knocking on the door. Okay, Roger out. That's all you need. They can't tell you no. They can't say no. Charlie can't come here. They can't.
Yeah.
And so the one thing Charlie can't do yet. I teach and I present in classes, and he can't sit quietly all day long while I teach. But he's going to get there. Give him another year. He's still, he's 2 years old. He's like a 14-year-old kid. Give him
Oh yeah.
another year, and he'll be able to. And he does travel with me. The only tricky part of having a service dog is taking him on a plane, because you got to jump through the airline's hoops, and it's no big deal.
Yep.
There's a Department of Transportation form that you fill out ahead of time and you send to the airline ahead of time.
Okay.
And all the airlines on their website has a place to do it. Traveling with a service animal, you just fill out the form, you let them know ahead of time, boom, you're good. And Charlie flies with me, a couple of times when I go to a place where I'm only presenting for a short period of time, and there's somebody there that will take care of him for me. I don't want to impose, people pay me to come. I don't want to impose on them.
Sure.
But every person out there, if you have trouble getting up in the morning, you need a Charlie. And that fast, you got him trained. And it doesn't have to be a big dog, because it's awkward to have that big dog everywhere. You can have a little
Yeah.
dog that sits in a sling or trots along beside you. Don't let him embarrass us. Charlie's good. He's quiet. And, I had to go through my granddaughter came and visited. We live outside of St. Louis. We went to the St. Louis Arch. And Charlie sat in that sling all the way up the arch. But we had to go through the metal detector. And whenever we go through the airport or the metal detector, we make Charlie sit. He sits. I go through the metal detector. I turn around and say, Charlie, here. He comes here. Don't let him embarrass us. People, oh, that's a service dog. That kid's got dog is cool, And he sits in the sling and he's just chill and he's cool and he gets a reward periodically, And I train. The hardest thing in the world is to train a dog to not do something. So we
Yeah.
go on bike rides. I call it our senile delinquent biker gang. I got a basket. It was a basket designed to carry a dog on the front of my bike. And every time we pass a dog or something, I tell him, no barking, Charlie, no barking. Yeah, look, he's looking at me now. And we pass somebody who doesn't bark, he gets a treat.
Really?
And it took a week or two for him to figure out, oh, wait a minute. If I don't say anything when we go past these people, I get a treat. And very quickly, I say hello to everybody. I say, hey, neighbor, how you doing? What a beautiful day, And Charlie looks at, okay, dude, where's my treat now? Where's my treat? But so everybody out there, you deserve a Charlie. You need a Charlie. We're not meant to be alone. And
Yeah.
having that service dog, I can't tell you how many times people have told me, I was thinking about taking my life, but I couldn't do that to my dog.
Yeah.
You know? And-
Great point. I make reels all the time, and I'm like, listen, we're purpose-driven individuals. If you're looking for yours, and you can't find a grand one at that time, how
yeah.
about a dog? dog gives you purpose.
Yeah.
It needs you to exist, and it gives you the most unconditional love in return.
Yeah.
There is one purpose for you right there.
Amen.
And
And let me
I've heard great stories.
kind of close the loop on all of this
Yeah.
with something I tell every class, and I want you to repeat this after me. Now, can we all agree? Nobody takes your life without one hell of a fight. Can we agree on that? I said,
Yes.
give everybody in the audience, give me a sea of head nods out there. Every living creature, nobody takes your life, including you, without one hell of a fight. But tell yourself, I will fight for my life. Great.
Hmm.
Say it.
I will fight for my life.
I will seek counseling.
I will seek counseling.
I will get medication.
I will get medication.
I will leave no rock unturned.
I will leave no rock unturned.
I will fight for my life like I would fight for my child's life.
I will fight for my life like I'd fight for my child's life.
Because no one takes my life,
Because no one takes my life,
including me,
including me,
without one hell of a fight.
without one hell of a fight.
Amen. And then in my
Amen.
class, we say it again, and you'll burn it into your neurons, and establish that ahead of time. And maybe
Great.
we can send. We're losing too many of our
Yeah, we
brothers
are.
and sisters to their own hands. We lose more cops to suicide than every other line of duty death put together.
Oh, yeah. Not
And
even
so
close.
that's that life saving contract we send them out the door with, and maybe we can save a few lives that way, brother.
Yeah, it's the truth.
Yeah,
Colonel, I just was speaking to my buddy Kenny, and Kenny Mitchell, he does great things as well. Retired fireman. He's in this space, does a lot of public speaking. His daughter, I think she's late teens, was at a party Saturday night, and a 20-year-old friend of hers goes to the party, pulls out a gun in front of 50, 60 kids, commits suicide in front of them. Unbelievable. I mean, you talk about a tragic story. Uh, I'm blown away. I mean, I can't imagine where someone's head is to do something like that. And now, these poor kids that they just put that on.
yeah.
Um,
Now you
yeah.
know a good thing, Michael. Yeah, you know a good thing.
What's that, sir?
That I never heard about that. That incident.
Yeah.
That's good. We found out that if we report teen suicides, there'll be more suicides. If we do a memorial service in the school, there'll be more suicides.
Really?
People, and we found out that if people commit suicide by diving off of this bridge, there'll be more suicides driving off that bridge. And the one place where the media still keeps turning killers into celebrities.
Yeah.
That's evil. That's evil. But the one thing they've learned is to not report suicides. Now that story could have been national news, but you got to give credit to the media. To what an amazing story. But praise God, it didn't hit national news, because there would have been more suicides, and it would have been the same way. Somebody killed themselves in front of a crowd. And thank God, nobody heard about it.
Yeah.
Except, God bless the poor kids who had to deal with that. And the families.
Why is that, Colonel? Why is that phenomenon?
The copycat suicide?
Yeah.
A lot of it is seeking fame. Let's say that I have a memorial service in the high school.
Okay.
He says, I know have a memorial service. I know how to make them sorry. I know how to make them sorry, and they kill themselves.
Really?
Or somebody says, I know how to get in the news. We see a lot of that where the killers are motivating more killers. The killer in Parkland, Florida said, I'm going to be the next school shooter. When you
Yeah, I
see me in the
remember.
news, you got to know who I am.
I remember that one.
The school killer in Oxford, Michigan, the last entry in his little journal said, I want the world to remember me.
Hmm.
The people will commit murder to be in the news.
Right.
People will kill themselves to be in the news. We know that. And so the media has responsibility on who they put in the news. And this is just a certified, irrefutable fact that there's this copycat suicide is called copycat suicide dynamic.
Yep.
It's so powerful. When a major celebrity commits suicide and make a big deal about it, you get more suicides. And you got to give credit to the media that terrible incident you told me about did not get in the national news or even in the local news, and that's good. That's the media learning. If only they'd learned. You remember the New Zealand mosque massacre? This guy live
Yeah.
streamed himself in two different mosques in New Zealand, slaughtering
Yep.
people. He live streamed it, went to the internet, and will never go away.
Yeah.
The Prime Minister of New Zealand said this man did what he did for notoriety, for fame. And she said, the Prime Minister of New Zealand said, we will not give it to him. She said, New Zealand will never say this man's name. New Zealand will never show this man's face. New Zealand will not even give him his name. Boom. Somebody gets it. Make him
Nice.
nothing. Make him nobody.
Yeah.
Maybe,
Which they are.
okay, but for the first week, little picture, little name, and then shut it down.
Yep.
Don't keep turning these killers into celebrities.
Oh yeah.
Let
Columbine.
oh,
Jesus.
oh, the
For
Columbine killers.
years.
And it's not the Columbine killers, it's the media.
Yeah.
And then turn these killers into celebrities and continue to
Exactly.
perpetuate that.
Yep.
They have this blood on their hands and they refuse to accept the responsibility for what they do. And
Oh yeah.
so I just rejoice at not this tragic incident, but that they happen, but that it didn't get in the news, and that gives us some hope for our society and the resilient warrior nation to be a little bit better today than we were a couple of years ago, and
Exactly.
the
That's all
world's
we
a
can
better
hope
place
for.
'cause Mike Morgan is in the fight, doing the good fight every day. God bless you.
And Lieutenant
And
Colonel Grossman, absolutely right back at you.
then Charlie,
So,
yeah.
Colonel, just tell everyone all the links will be in the bio, but if they want to get in touch with you, how to do
Yeah.
so.
My website is grossmanontruth.com. The truth on killing, the truth on hunting, the truth on combat, grossmanontruth.com. And everything's there. My books, you can order books there. We'll personalize them. Order from Amazon if you want. That's great. Order my website, and we'll sign them and personalize them for you. Do all your Christmas shopping, and you
Nice.
get my book, get them signed and personalized, and tell me what to say. There's a little box in there, and about a lot of mornings I get to sit down and sign a couple of books, and it kind of makes my day, and personalize it for a few people. And maybe we'll get Charlie put a little paw print on there one of these.
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
GrossmanOnTruth.com, and 16 books in print. Number 17, one of my books, and a great co-author, Adam Davis. Adam did all the heavy lifting on the book Bulletproof Marriage. He and I co-authored, but he
Yep.
was on. And now the sequel is Bulletproof Family. Number 17, it will go to the publisher. The final edition should go to the publisher next month, and Adam gets all the credit on that one.
He's telling me about that one.
Yeah, we kind of tag team it. I did the vast majority of the work on this one. He did the majority of the work on that one, but we still were a team, and
Beautiful.
and we push it, but so all my books are listed there. You can order them there, get them from us, get them signed, or go to Amazon and get them. You can contact me to have me come teach. We do a lot of great things. We do a lot of spiritual warfare, house of worship security. I'm the only person, I believe, to ever be post-certified in all 50 states. I
Really
retired for the Army 27 years ago. Been on the road
nice.
ever since. Train cops in every state. Train all of our federal agencies, all of our Tier 1 spec ops, all of our armed forces. Lots of school safety. And what a blessing just to keep doing
Oh,
it. 69 years old in 2 weeks, and I want to do it for another 20 years.
good for you.
Uh,
You're like a national treasure. It's unbelievable. The amount of knowledge that you hold is incredible. You can forget most of it and still know more than
uh,
99% of us. So
it's a two-way street. The Bible says iron sharpens iron. And it's true, brother. It's a two-way street. What have you gotten 30 years of law enforcement to give? What do you know that you've forgotten more than most people know about the reality of surviving and crime and violence and cuffing and denial and readiness and the things that you shared today. It's a two-way street, brother. Everybody
absolutely.
has something to give. They truly do.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. Absolutely. Again, it was an honor having you on. Thank you so much again. I had a great time speaking to you. Guys, if you like what you saw, and I don't know how you can't, please hit like and subscribe. And Colonel, again, it was an honor having you on.
God bless. God bless America.
You too.